Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. It's the Sutton Podcast. I'm your host Mike, and joining me today is Paul. We will be looking at the home draw with Doncaster Rovers and looking towards the first trip to Morecambe. I think it's the first trip. It's definitely the first EFL trip. I know that for certain. On solid ground there. Your engagement is important. I really do love all the comments, shares, likes, retweets. It really just does help get it put in front of more other Sutton fans. So I know I say it every week, but I really do appreciate it. Thank you all, and keep doing it. Paul, do you know what? I didn't actually check up when you were last on. Hello, how are you?
Not too bad. Well, a bit of a cold and a cough and a splutter, but I thought I'd drink through it yesterday. And the Curve are probably not the best place to spend it, but
no,
hey, yeah, I'll survive.
Yeah. That's good. I don't remember last time you were on. I've clicked my screen of that. So whatever it was, I'm sure it was a good one.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, club news. The ladies' reserve side won their semi-final today. They were 1-0 down, and then they won 3-1. So the final, I don't actually have any details of the final, but I'm sure it'll be announced soon. And they will very much appreciate your support. It's always nice towards the end of the season to have a cup final to kind of go along, because you know the football's going to be broke for a few weeks, so it's nice to get them all in. Be odd for me because at least two of the girls who are in there used to play on teams opposite Lottie, my eldest, when she played, so it'll be different cheering them on rather than booing them, especially Charlotte. The coach travel is nearly full on the coach to Morecambe, so last update there was only a few spaces left, so if you do want it, do email John Parsons, make sure you let me know and send the dosh. And they have now started an Insta page, which is, I hope I got this right, sutton.united.coach.travel. So give them a follow and you get all the updates on there as well for the coach travel. Just get it going. It'll be good fun for people when they're going, and a nice, easy way to get to and from games. Going to start with an apology for last Wednesday, and apologise, but it's not actually my fault, this one. When I do it, it's my fault. I'm not shy and letting you know, but this one wasn't my fault, and it's a bit hard to take. It was some server issue in Frankfurt, it's just rebooted or something, and they weren't expecting it. So unfortunately, it was while we're mid-conversation, and out of a 40-minute chat, 22 minutes disappeared. And it wasn't on the transcript enough for me to be able to add the AI lovely voices either. So thank you to Alex and Neil. It was a good chat. And Neil, for one, is delighted because he's convinced he's not been on the podcast after a loss. And the fact that podcast didn't go out means his record is still intact. So he's, for one person, quite pleased. But I did discuss on that one that for the Harrogate match, which I'll be taking a little bit of stick for, I wasn't in my normal spot, obviously. Lots of people were in a normal spot because they went to the away end. But I was in hospitality, thanks to Gabriel for an invite. He was the ball sponsor, and it was the original Harrogate match, which got postponed. So the guests he had coming weren't there, so he invited me along and went along for hospitality, and it was a bit of an experience. It was quite fun. Bruce was hilarious because he kind of was greeting everyone, saying hello, and it was like, what are you doing sitting here? It's like, hello, Bruce. Nice to see you too. And then when he did his little speech to everyone, he introduced obviously the sponsors, and he said, they're joined by Mike, who does the podcast. If ever you need any trouble sleeping, please just give Mike a listen. A room full of 80 people, you can't buy that. So yeah, it was really, really nice. And if anyone does want to do the ball sponsors, the corporate ball sponsors. It's actually a really good experience. Graham looked after you really nice. They were all really attentive, and it was just, it was a great experience. But yeah, I did take some blame that we lost to Harrogate. Very, very, very quickly on the Harrogate match. You were at that one. Did you go to the away end? Did you try it out, Paul?
I did, mate. Yeah. Went to the game, went to the away end for the first half, and then went back to the curve of the second half. Yeah, enjoyed it. I didn't realise. I mean, I hadn't been behind the away end, I think, until the first time it was built, I think. So, so it was good to see the improvements made behind there. It looked nice, didn't it?
It does look good behind there.
The way it's been done out back there. So yeah, and obviously the view's pretty good, and it definitely makes a difference with the atmosphere and the noise. So yeah, you can see why we were experimenting to see what we might use it further down the line. So
yeah, absolutely, it'll be a good. Obviously, there's old curmudgeons like me who prefer where they've been standing for donkeys, but for a lot of the young ones who've only sort of been with a few years, it'd be good to have that as their home.
Yeah.
Because it'll be their spot for 30 years, hopefully. But the game itself, lots been said on it already. Steve pointed out 3 mistakes, and we're punished. Subject I'm sure we will mention in a little while. So it was unfortunate. I mean, I think a lot of people, myself included, got sucked into the fact that we've beaten Harrogate every single time and didn't acknowledge the fact that Harrogate are a very good side. They're top of the form table. They were top of the form table, and they definitely look like they're going for the playoffs. So it was a harder game than perhaps some of us really realised. And some of the comments afterwards, I was like, oh, hang on, you do realise they're actually almost in the playoffs and we're relegation. So if that was the other way round, if we were going for the playoffs, we would have very much expected to beat a team down the bottom. So. But anyway, we'll move on. The game against Doncaster. Do you still do the fan hub, or have you given up on that?
I don't. I'm a footballogy guy, Mike. I don't do the pick your starting 11 thing, mainly because I'd be rubbish at that. But I know I don't do that. You do that, though, don't you?
I do. I don't know how long that's going to last. 7. He does love a chop and change, doesn't he?
He does.
So, I mean, what were your thoughts on the lineup? I mean, particularly,
I think
Omari and Smith on the bench.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So, well, first of all, I was trying to work out whether it was 5-2-1-2 or 3-5-1-2. I wasn't sure really. I can never work those things out. Anyway, that's why I don't do fan hub. But the Smith Patrick one is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because I thought Omari Patrick looked really good against Harrogate, and his crossing was excellent. And I was thinking a few times there, if we'd had Harry Smith in the team, he'd be getting on the end of them, and we'd be getting a bag full of them. So I was quite looking forward to them both playing in this game. But equally, I was a bit wary because I thought the trouble with Harry Smith being such a target man, that we have been playing some good stuff on the floor at times. And I thought, with Harry coming back in, are we just going to start falling into that trap of lamping it forward, which we have done in the past? So while I was hoping for them to join together, I was wary that they of some of the risks in that, but it didn't matter anyway because they were both on the bench. So it was a surprise, but obviously, the gaffer knows best.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you just said it there, but there's a couple comments. One person sort of said it was an interesting idea that we might end up having our best 11 on the pitch at the end of 90 minutes rather than at the start of 90 minutes. So for them sort of coming on as an impact against tired legs. But he does. Yeah, he does seem to like that rotation and keep. He does.
Yeah, we have got a lot of games coming up, haven't we? So I don't know whether that's rotation to keep you fresh, or he's still trying things, or whether it's or whether just volume of games. And the other thing as well actually was because Doncaster let in 5 goals against Stockport last week, didn't they? And 4 of them were headers, and I was thinking, well, that's that's what Harry Smith does. So again, I was very surprised from that regard. But obviously, they do their own work, don't they? So they they know what they're doing out.
Yeah, I took a little bit of stick on the one that didn't go out because I did question whether we would start Harry or would we say no, you've got to get your place back in the side. and they were both like very dismissive of me saying that, and I was like, hey, it looks like I was right. But it could have been that he was hoping to keep it tight for the first sort of hour or so, stay in the game, and then go for the attack, which almost worked, to be fair. You mentioned the formation.
Even match fitness as well, maybe,
Yeah, absolutely. He did, in his extremely brief interview with Tony, he did mention match fitness was a consideration as well. But the formation, as you mentioned, is quite refreshing to be, well, hang on, what we actually play in here. But do you think that potentially could, I mean, it shouldn't do, they're professionals, but do you think that could affect the players in some way to say, well, hang on, where are we supposed to be? What are we supposed to be doing? Because he does change it during the match as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think, as you intimated there, Mike, I'd like to think that they can adapt, and that's the difference between the pros in League Two and those who aren't pros in League Two. So I'd like to think they could adapt to it, and they seem to have adapted pretty well to it. So I like Duke McKenna just behind Angle and Sanderson. I thought that worked really well. He was a live wire, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to like Lee, doesn't he? He's given him more of a chance than Matt ever did. And he had a few chances. So I'm not sure he's still experimenting with it all, or he set up that way because he thought that was the best chance to beat Doncaster.
Yeah, I mean, on the Lee one, I'm sure we can come on to it. There's a few comments. I mean, I've been saying, and other people have been agreed for a while. The problem with Lee is obviously he's got this reputation, and people kind of go, "Oh, Lee's rubbish," blah blah blah. But we've not been playing to his strengths, so he's not going to win balls in the air against someone else. So what's the point of passing it up there to do that, because he's not going to do it? There was some comment that he doesn't even bother jumping now. To a certain extent, if you're not going to win it, I guess you might. What's the point? What's the point of doing that? Like, if someone lumps the ball over on the fans' game to like 10 yards in front of me, there's no point in me trying to run for that, because one of the other kids are going to run past me and get it. He's kind of playing to play his strengths, and it is nice to give defences something different to think about after a certain amount of time. Yeah.
I think Donovan Wilson suffered from that, didn't he? I always had a soft spot for him. I thought he did a really good job for us, but it felt like he was just in the wrong setup and wasn't playing to his strengths, wasn't being able to play to his strengths a bit. And we've seen what he's been doing at Grimsby.
Yeah.
Grimsby? Yeah.
Grimsby's gone to Crawley. Oh, no, he hasn't. He was supposed to go to Crawley.
Has he gone yet?
No, he hasn't. No, I don't think he has. I think Dan, it was Dan I was talking to in the bar, and he was saying what the problem with Donovan was he was doing all the running and chasing into the channels to win the ball and cross it to Donovan, who was not there because he had just run the ball in the channel. So it's like, he was doing both jobs. But onto the game. I mean, what were you going into the game with? What kind of expectations did you have? Hopes? They're not doing very well. We're doing worse. But they're not doing very well.
Yeah. I thought we were down by game 8. Like I was mentioning before, I thought I couldn't see. Nothing was clicking, and I couldn't see any way out of it. I mean, obviously it was early, and we could have changed it around, but I just couldn't see where that was coming from. So, although bizarrely, since it was only to the Walsall game, actually, I thought, I can see it clicking a little bit here. You can see us knocking around. People know where they're meant to be. They know what their jobs are, and I thought we did played a decent game at Walsall. Harrogate, there was a lot of good stuff. We just got done with a couple of goals. So I had a little bit more hope in this game than I have over the last, 4 months, but and as you say, probably fell in the trap as everyone else. Harrogate didn't probably look at the league table, didn't look at their form guy particularly, and just thought we always beat them. And Harrogate, and then and Doncaster as well, and they seem to, and I thought Doncaster were on the slide, weren't they? So I thought, well, here's a good chance here, but it's a massive 6-pointer. And I thought if we don't get this one, then we're dead and buried. and I thought a win was needed. They're the team on the slide and out of form. They didn't show much, did they? Really? If we can't beat Doncaster, then I thought we were in trouble. So I had high hopes off the back of the previous performances, but didn't happen, did it?
No, I mean they started bright. Doncaster, they were on the front foot.
Yeah,
They
I
had
did, yeah.
they had an early shout for a penalty. The ref was
Mm.
very quick to book the player for diving on that early penalty. But we weathered that storm a little bit, and we seemed to be in control as far as a Sutton United team can be in control of a match. But we seemed to be in control for that sort of first half, all the first half really, apart from an early spell. But we couldn't convert. There wasn't that many clear-cut chances. How do you kind of feel the team reacts to that? Oh God, we've done well. We just haven't scored because it was again against Harrogate. We've done well. We just didn't put the ball in the net. So it must be coming in sort of thinking, what the hell's going on? What do we need to do?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, as you say, it happened in the Harrogate game where we started brightly, but it's teams low on confidence, isn't it? You start brightly, but if things don't go your way, you don't get an early strike, or it just don't get the break, then you feel as though heads will drop. But that was, I mean, it was some good stuff being played. As I say, we were knocking it around. Jim McKenna looked lively. Every time he got the ball, it feels like something was going to happen. I was impressed with Lakin. Eastie was still not quite himself, but it's he's there, isn't he? And he's such a presence. So I think it felt as though there was only one team going to score really, other than they had a volley, didn't they? And as you say, that I mean, I've looked at it from various angles, whether that was a pen or not, and you still can't. I can't sell. Looked like the referee had the best view, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, what they need is a text solution where they can refer to it.
No, you're fine. I'd rather have the mistakes. Thank you very much. So we kind of reached half time. I mean, they had a little bit of a psychological advantage because they'd messed around with our kickoffs and had us kicking the wrong way. But we kind of again came out okay. We got to the 60-ish minute mark, which obviously all the differences with between the two, our ex-manager and current manager, and still subs on the 60 minutes, but I guess that's everyone. And the subs kind of had that little change in formation as well, a little change in tactic. And 10, 15 minutes later, it seemed to work. Eastie rolling back the ears, bursting into the box. And how he got that, the ball got away from him, and then he just stuck out his left foot, and here we go, lovely goal. Thank you very much. How did you sort of feel? Luck on it, but how did you feel at that point? 1-0. I mean, it was a game of not much quality, few chances. Were you like, there we go, let's all go home?
Yeah, I did feel quite comfy, didn't you? I felt comfortable. I think I'd say, 1-0 up. They weren't showing huge amounts, I didn't think, and we got some fresh legs on and mixed it up a bit. I thought here's 3 points here.
At last. I think it's October.
Yeah.
I haven't checked that, but someone said it's October since we last won at home.
I saw that, raised an eyebrow,
But then we did our Sutton thing of we've got them by the throat, and not only do we release them, we then start going, hey, you can have a free couple of punches if you like. I'm not sure which order this was, so there was a very strong penalty shout with Ryan Jackson. It wasn't a penalty shout. That the more I look at that, the more I'm like, that's a mistake from the ref. And then they had another really good chance where they absolutely should have scored. I think it was a 1-on-1. They absolutely should have scored. I think there were two of them actually. One of them was a bit harder than the other. But we were just doing that Sutton thing of dropping deeper. Or actually, most of the players were dropping deeper. There were one or two still up there, which is potentially part of the problem. We then come to probably the most important part of the match, and lots to unpick. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot criticising the referee. there's all sorts here. So, I mean, what was your, before we go into the actual sort of nitty-gritty of each bit, but what was your kind of overview of that penalty and it coming?
I think it's quite important to not look at it in isolation. You've already mentioned two penalty decisions here that he's had to come up with. So there's the one with Dino where it hasn't gone Doncaster's way. Jackson with the one with the toe in you've mentioned, that doesn't go their way. And I don't, and refs will defend it to the hilt. They say we don't look at things like this, but it must chip away a little bit. And that actually, if there's a 50-50 decision there, then it might be their turn for it. Saying that, so I've looked at it from various different angles. I've even shown it to people who perhaps are a little bit less
biased,
less biased. And I've had mixed views. Some people, I think was it Danny said just use the word clatter. It's like it clatters into him, and actually it's a stone cold. Some other people are saying no way. I mean, it's the old classic, isn't it? If it is, don't give him the opportunity to give it. And I watched Dino quite early because as the ball came in, I actually picked him up quite early, and there was just that little bit of an indecision of a man who is low on confidence, and he's got to make a split-second call there, and he's just not quite sure, and he's just delayed it a little bit, and it means that he's not quite there at the right time, and he has gone into both. We've seen those given, we've seen them not given. I mean, ballsy decision from the ref. Thanks very much, mate.
Well, some of it is you said is stuff I've jotted down there. I mean, yeah, there were quite a lot of people still up. I think there was 3 or so. First thing to look at in the whole build-up is, was there a foul on Harry Smith in the centre circle? Is that a foul not given because he's 6'5" and he's a big bloke? Or is it he just, the ref felt you're going down looking for this? So that was kind of the first part of it. The judgment, as you said about the should I go, should I not go? Again, trying to be objective looking at it, it's like, what would have been the best outcome here? Had you got that cleanly? Because there was a big gap between those who had stayed up and those behind. If he had punched that out, that was only going to come back in, and he's then on the floor on the edge of the area. So where's the best outcome there? To me at the time, and I'm watching it again, it looks like he takes out Kizzy, who probably was about to win the header. I'm not sure where the rules are, but he takes out our player who then clatters into their player. So it's like, well, where's the foul? Is it on their player or on our player? You've mentioned seen them given, seen them not given. But he gave the referee a decision to make. And that's where you can kind of query it. But one other thing I don't think we've discussed an awful lot, or anyone really, is he didn't blow up straight away. They had the ball, they took a shot, and it went wide. Or it could, I can't remember exactly, but I don't know the exact rules. I'm sure other people do know the exact rules. If you know, tell me, that's great. But I don't think there should be any advantage in the penalty box unless someone's literally going to roll it into an empty net. But I always understood that the advantage was if it doesn't materialise or it's squandered, then if it doesn't materialise, you get the free kick. If it's squandered, you don't get the free kick. So if the ball comes to a player who then fails to trap it and it goes under his legs out for a throw on, for example, then that's on him. Sorry, it's not our fault you couldn't take the advantage. But it just seemed to be quite a long time between the collision and him deciding, okay, they've missed that shot, I'll give the penalty.
It's a good point, Mike. Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Right.
I don't think I've, as you say, I'm not familiar with the law or whatever on it, but as you say, I don't think I've seen often advantage being played that long in a penalty area. To go back, the Harry foul. They were all over him as soon as he was on the pitch, weren't they? Wrestling to the ground. So we're never going to get something like that. And I've watched it quite a few times. Again, not the angle, not quite there to see whether it is a It's certainly not stone cold, so you can see why he's played on. It was interesting that he said that he went colliding into Joe first. My take was he took both of them, but you might be right.
Right.
Again, it's I don't know. I've just seen the what was it, low cam, whatever they tech call it.
Yeah, but you got to remember, I've got very biased eyes. It's not just slightly biased. I'm very biased. So
yeah. No, me too. But yeah, it's what a shocker.
I mean, there's a couple of other talking points from various fans, which we'll pick up afterwards. But the two games, we kind of were saying, right, we want to hopefully 6, at least 4 points from these two games, and we got 1. Is this a missed opportunity? Or if, I think as Mark Bravery put in the forum, if we were to suddenly go, we're going to win the next 2 games, however unlikely that is, but if we were to suddenly put 2 games back to back, these 2 games don't mean anything because you would have taken that over the 4 games.
Well, yeah. If anyone can tell me where these 2 games are, from Morecambe away, Wrexham at home, Bradford away, Colchester home, Notts County away, Tranmere away. So we've got 4 away games, 2 home games. I've seen, so we're knocking it around a bit more, and I have seen some bright sparks in the new setup with the new regime. But we keep on saying this, don't we? We keep on saying it's coming. It ain't coming. I just cannot see where it's coming. I really can't. Because there's this. We need 2 worse teams than us, don't we? Mm-hmm. So, and every time we see 2 teams, they suddenly put a run together or something. So we're now down to, Doncaster, Grimsby, us, Forest Green, is it?
Mm.
And they're going to be picking up points as well. And I think it would have been okay, but we're 7 points behind now.
Yeah.
So, and as we've got left games, and this magic streak of 4 wins in a row, where is that? Where is that coming from?
I don't know.
I'll be cheering with the rest of us, and But I genuinely can't.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really unlikely scenario, but I think I did look this up earlier. It was Dell on the forum. He had said that when we took on Steve with 21 games left, and he kind of worked out that if we had 4 or 5 points from each set of 3 games, then that would probably be enough. I think if it was 4 points from each set of 3 games, it would have been 46 points in total. So 5 points obviously would be slightly higher. And at first you're like, well, hang on, that's mad. Then the first batch of 3, we got 3 points. So you're like, okay, that's his first 3 games. We're only 1 out.
Yeah.
If we were to beat Morecambe, which is a big if, obviously, we would have got 4 points from the next batch of 3 games. So we're still on that kind of hopeful clutching at straws target. We're there. We're fine.
Well, put like that, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. But on the other side of that, the last-minute goal gives Doncaster a huge boost because they were losing the game. They were dead and buried from the game. They were suddenly only 4 points ahead of us and looking awful. And now suddenly, whoa, we got a last-minute point out of the bag. How much of a boost is it going to give them to go to the rest of the season?
I mean, the one glimmer of hope I've got in all this is that Doncaster are an absolute pony, aren't they? I'm not. I can't think of many worse teams I've seen down the lane for a while. So.
I can.
Well, yeah. You go back further than me. Though.
No, it's our team this season.
Yeah. So that gives me a glimmer of hope. Forest Green. I think Colchester have bought strongly over the January period. I think they'll pull themselves out of it. So I mean, Grimsby, haven't watched them too closely, but and Forest Green, we need them to stay where they are. Thank you very much. So that's my one glimmer, is that there might be just 2 teams worse than us, but we're now 7 points behind one of those, which just makes that 96th minute penalty massive, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it will be, I'm sure, one of the points we look back on the season. of many.
When we're
of
on
many.
the coast of Solihull Moors away.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so there are a few different points, a couple of which we kind of said a couple, but lots and lots of blaming the referee. It's really easy to do. It's really simple. Sometimes the refs don't help themselves. So you brought it up, and I'd written it down. Was the decision in any way influenced by especially the Ryan Jackson one, which was quite an obvious penalty? And it was to make up for it. Not sure if I can sort of accept that, because where's our evening up of these decisions? For example, like Kizzy was booked for a challenge he didn't even make. So we're kind of sitting there going, put your foot in, Kiz, and he gets booked for not putting his foot in it. Well, hang on, just a sec. So if the refs are balancing these things up, we're going to get some great decisions over the next sort of 18 games or 17 games, because there's a lot of balancing up. You think of like Crawley away and stuff. But I mean, there's some people who will say that refs want us out of this league, and so on and so on and so on. I had I made the comment about the Mr. Rock, who I'm sure he's not biased, but he doesn't do an awful lot to dispel the myth that he is. As close as I say. But do you think it's as easy as going, yeah, the ref made a couple of mistakes? I mean, he's clearly made them both ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if we're going down the route of bias, then we're down the route of conspiracy and bribery and all sorts. So I don't think that happens. I just don't think it does. I think, is there some unconscious bias in there? Maybe, the ref comes down to a grim old, South London spot, but and maybe a little bit of that, and they find refereeing our style of play difficult, perhaps, and get frustrated by that, possibly. But I think the biggest issue is just inconsistency in refereeing. There's just it is inconsistent. It's always going to be inconsistent. Has refereeing got worse? I don't know. I mean, maybe it has, but people shouting at them and giving them right old dogs for 90 minutes. Maybe that's part of the problem, is that referees don't want to referee anymore, and we've got a shortage of refs. So, but yeah, no, I don't buy into the whole thing about refs have got it in for us. No, not at all. No. Yeah. Let's just some goals in the net.
Exactly. I mean, the unconscious bias we already mentioned is obviously there is a difficult one with Harry Smith, where you mentioned the inconsistency, where he jumps for a ball and there's a bit of pulling and he gets a free kick against him, and then someone wrestles him to the ground and literally they've got him by the waist and they fling him, and then he gives away a free kick, and you're like, well, hang on, no, just explain it, okay? I'm not saying you're cheating. I'm just saying explain that one. What do you think he did? I do think that obviously I'm an old git, so I know the time before people used to complain and moan about referees, but because we didn't have social media and replays so readily available, you couldn't point out the referees. You'd forget about them eventually. Some of us would. I know there's one or two people who don't forget about referees' mistakes, but some of us would just forget about them because there's another set of problems for the following week. So, I mean,
part of the problem is they're going to make mistakes because it's bloody hard. It's it's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you only have to go and referee a kids' game for 20 minutes, and just the things you're having to look at. A ref has to make 400 decisions in a Premier League game, doesn't it? Something like that. So,
even in our chat now,
bloody hard.
We've talked about watching the replays, and we're not sure what happened. And we've got the benefit of being at the match, watching the replay, trying to go, well, what? Look at me, rewind that. So it is hard. And I hate every time I do it, a little bit of sick comes up to go, oh, can't blame the referee. You can't. But it's just so easy to clutch onto that, made a mistake. But hopefully, as we're saying, we can point to two potential mistakes, one for, one against. I'm not saying it evens itself up. No. There was quite a lot of Dino out. People very, very angry at Dino, because as much as people are saying the referee shouldn't have given a penalty, there's a lot more saying what the hell was Dino doing on this coming out for it. My favourite is it seems to be a rumour that someone started. Well, they didn't deliberately start a rumour. I think they said, I wonder if, and people have taken this as a fact. and it was that Reading have insisted he starts every game, and it's like I'm not sure we would have agreed to that. I'm not sure Matt would have agreed to that, and I'm not sure Reading were in a position to make too many demands, to be honest, because they wanted him out. So I'm not 100% sure. I get that happens sometimes with like if we were going to loan a keeper from Arsenal and they're ready for him to make a breakthrough, they could say, no, this kid's good. We need him playing games. So I get that happens sometimes, but I don't think it's in this one. Andrew Jackson on Facebook, I didn't write it all down, so I'm paraphrasing this. He's made a really, really good point on decision making. And the crux of it is we want players to take risks and play without fear, because that's when the good stuff happens. When something happens, when the ball goes to somewhere unexpected, we get a break and we've suddenly scored. So we want players to make these decisions, but players are going to make bad decisions as well as good ones. And we may need to just accept that and hope that the positives outweigh the negatives on that. What kind of, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I don't think that is a good example to that point. I think.
Okay.
I think it's a great point, and I absolutely take it on board. But I thought Dino's decision on that was just really poor and not based on the risk of it, or it was just not great. And it was the decision of a man short on confidence, I think. We know he's a good goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we were clicking and we had a decent defence in front of him and stuff, but he's a great goalkeeper. So and things in front of him perhaps aren't as good now. Well, they're not, are they? Aren't as good at the moment, so he's finding that a bit difficult. Plus, he's just been ousted by a club he went to, and plus he's having a tough time of it here. His distribution is poor, has been poor, especially from hand. But the pelters he's been getting, I think, have been a bit harsh.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying that, but that one yesterday was a stone cold howler, and has cost us dear. But we shouldn't be pointing fingers at him that he's put us down on it.
Okay, never a dull moment. Paul's just ended up on a point, and for some reason it's chopped the last 10 minutes or so of the conversation off. So I'll give you a little bit of appraisal of what we carried on with. So Paul was just saying that it's lots of stuff that's put us down this season. I've obviously made the point then that mistakes that happen in sort of February, March time that cost points always seem to be worse than August, September 3 points. So they just live longer in the memory. So obviously any mistakes goalkeepers make are always highlighted because they often give out a goal. And the pointed out the fact that one time I overplayed in goal, and so I pointed out to my defence and said, any shots on target? And they're in. I made one save because I think it hit me. But that was it. It's their fault. So next thing we kind of pointed out is that we didn't notice it. Well, I didn't notice at the time. Paul said he did. Easty celebrating in front of the away fans. Obviously, everyone knows I don't mind the old shithouse every now and then, but I'm not sure what they gave to him to give that kind of stick back, and our fans are only in the corner, so it would have been easier to kind of run to, or easy-ish to run to them. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a saint. If away fans are giving it, then they need to take it back, but I don't think we need to really get into all that if we can help it. Then we were talking about the Morecambe game, and another little plug, the places on the coaches are limited there, so get it in there early if you want. And anyone who does book the coach, do book it early, and hopefully we'll get to a stage where people start losing out, so lots of people start booking it, and then we can have more coaches on, get a bit of a bigger following there. So we discussed, do we start the best 11, do we rotate? I did suggest he pretends he's Steve Morrison for a bit, and Paul was saying that obviously there's lots of ifs, buts and maybes going on. We don't know what his thoughts are, but he did show some positives about setting up for our away games, as we did it with Walsall and Mansfield. So hopefully we'll do a bit better than we did against the teams at the top. But we then had a bit of a discussion about the sort of points on the board and what we need and so on. I did point out that we need to maybe combine our current mindset with our previous mindset, get a bit more physical, because referees already think we do be physical. So let's get a bit more physical and at least do something to give away those free kicks that we seem to be giving away. We then discussed the prediction league and gave our predictions, and obviously discussed Paul being near the top and Andy hunting him down and taking the top spot now. Anyone who wants to join in, the code is out there, or you can obviously click on the link. This moment in time, you're probably not going to trouble the leaders, but do join in anyway, because at least you're in there for next season, and we can sort of start afresh and go on. And so we are then talking about wrapping up the episode. So yes, thank you very much to everyone for listening. Sorry you've had the extra rambling from me at the end. Not really sure what's happening at the moment. It's a very good platform. Makes things a lot easier usually, but the last couple of weeks has been a bit of a struggle. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But thank you for listening. Thanks for your ear attention. The cup's gone now. I did show it off. But thank you also to Lucky Star Gin for sponsoring, and thank you to Paul for giving up his time and flying solo. Will unfortunately had a clash. He's struggled with his uni work. He's prioritised other things, and now he has to reprioritise his uni work. So get on with it, Will, naughty boy. But yeah, we will be back on Sunday after the Morecambe game, and I'm finalising the guest list now, so it's a bit of a surprise who'll be on. Meaning I haven't organised it. But thank you very much. Take care, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye. United!